Hi, thanks for watching. I've had a number of requests recently, and one of which was, how do you know if an inner tie rod is bad or not? People fail on their safety inspections all the time from a bad inner tie rod, and they're not sure how to look at it or how to approach it to see if it's bad or not. So I'm going to take the time to make a video on that today with the help of this car and another one. We're going to show you how to tell if an inner tie rod's bad, and then I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on how to replace them. I won't do everything in complete depth, but the specifics of the inner tie rod, we're going to touch on that and show you a specialty tool for removing it. It's going to be pretty cool, so stay tuned. So this is all you see when the boot's on. You can't really see anything at all. So if I can move it this much, and I can see that the outer tie rod end is okay, so I'll drop this in there. So if I can see there's no movement between this part here and this part here, then I know that this tie rod's okay. But if I'm getting play and that other wheel isn't moving on the other side, then I can deduce that it's the inner tie rod. It could be a worn rack and pinion, but you'd see play from both sides if that were the case, and there'd probably be some leaking. So you pull off the boot and you verify the complaint, and you get the new one. This is what the new one looks like. You can see that there's some marks on this side and this side. There's special tools that you can use. Sometimes you can get a wrench up in there. Like this one's a real easy one to get to because it's got an access hole. Here's another example. It's a little easier to see. You can see how much this wheel's moving, but the other wheel's not moving at all. See, if we go like this, we can get it to move. But there's just a lot of play. And when we look at the tie rod, we can see that everything's moving as far as the tie rod's concerned, but the translation of motion is just lost after here. Voila. But if I go and move the other side, if I go over to this side and wiggle it, you know, it moves as far as the inner tie rod's concerned, but it doesn't move to the other side. So we know we've got a bad inner tie rod on this car too. So when you have good tie rods, as soon as I turn one wheel, the other should turn right away. So we'll zoom in real close on that and try to get a little bit of this tire in the frame. But mostly it's that far side tire we're directing your attention toward. So as soon as I move this, the other one moves. There's no play. Whereas before I could move this one about this much and the other tire wasn't moving at all. So that's how you check for a bad tie rod. Hope you enjoy the video. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, click like. And as always, thanks a lot for watching my videos. I really appreciate you guys. This is what a bad inner tie rod end looks like with the boot removed. It's not a whole lot of movement there, but that's enough to be amplified. From the front of the van, go underneath like this, and you can see there you've got access through this cage that houses the rack and pinion. There's also sockets with a big long tube that go over that. I'll be showing you that here in a minute. See, here's the tool size. Pick out the size that I need. Of course, there's a little trial and error involved in that, but you just slip that onto the inner tie rod, and then the end of this tool, you can see, has a corresponding bearing and shape that interfaces with that. So I take the tube and I thread it onto the end of the bad tie rod end, and you can see there's a little plug or cap or whatever you call these little guys. It looks like an oil plug, and you just put it onto the end of it here. Get that in place, set it loosen, and you're out of here. Doesn't work, you can get a breaker bar and just crank it by hand. It's best to use impact if you can. That seems to affect the rack and pinion the least, but if you have to, you break it free. I'm going to look at that and see if there's any other retaining device before I really get brutal on this. You get the idea. Sometimes I worry more about the camera and I don't use my most powerful tool, my brain, on what I'm working on. It's not always the case, but it happens. It's a tight fit. Go ahead and pull that down, keep it separate so I don't have to trial and error fit the rest of these again. Once you get a tripod and a light in the work area, tough to do your thing. I don't even know what this is for. Yeah, there's nothing really securing that other than Loctite. The new one came with some red Loctite, so if that tells you anything, this thing is stuck. So we'll go ahead and break it free with a cheater pipe, pry bar, whatever it takes. Another thing you can do that really helps get that to open up is to use a torch. Use a little propane torch. Heated Loctite tends to give up pretty easily compared to not using heat anyway. Oh crap, I never put that thing back on, did I? Oh goodness, this is going to be one of those days. You can tell already. Sometimes you really want to produce something good, and your sleep history or lack of preparation dictates otherwise. My wife, you know, she's all gung-ho about having another kid. I had my reservations because I remember the last time clearly. I remember the frustrating moments of just not being able to function. I was in college at the time. I was studying mechanical engineering, and I just could not think well enough to get my assignments done in the appropriate amount of time allotted. And I was trying to take as many credits as I could because I was paying as I went. So I was working 2 jobs. That's a bad idea, just so you know. There we go. Now we've got that to break free. Switch to the impact gun. Suck. Careful when you push the impact gun in because you'll push your little end off. Sounds like a more personal problem than it was intended to sound like. Sounds like laugh your A off. Knock your little end off. Alright, let's try again. Alright, so I'm going to support the tool this time. I don't do a whole lot of these. Alright, you're out of there. Hooray. Neat little tool. So this new one, it's a Moog. It's a really good brand. I like the brand, but just goofy sizes. There's nothing that really fits it that great. It does now because you see I've machined it down. You just got to make sure you stay parallel. Make sure that you cut, you know, so that you're taking the same amount off of each side, and just take little passes at a time and make sure that the blade covers all the way across. That's the best way I know of to keep it parallel. So now I've got my choice. I can either do what is that, 33.6 millimeter, or I can do 1 5/16, and it fits great. Awesome. Yay, I couldn't even get anything on it before. So we got that machine down. You got to make sure that you don't get any filings or anything there, of course, obviously. But now we're good to go. So we'll go ahead and put this one in. Probably block this angle, but we'll give it a try. It's important that this has the Loctite on it. It's also very important that it is tightened properly, because if it's not, you can lose control of the vehicle, and then everybody's having a bad day, except for the lawyers. They love crap like that. Alright, once it's in there, get this lined up straight and it'll just spin in. No problem. I just send it in there by hand. Make sure that those threads go in right. If you strip this, it's going to be really, really difficult to try to correct that. You can send a tap into the rack and pinion end, but it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. Why would you do that to yourself? Just be careful. Do it by hand. And it's not clicking in. Rotate at half turn. See if that gets in there any better. It's having trouble getting over that bulge. I'm going to crank this down. I'm going to wipe out the camera in the process because, you know, why not? Maybe I need a new camera. Maybe I subconsciously feel it's appropriate and I'm just not responding in a conscious manner. Subconscious mind, you tricky devil. Man, I don't see why I'm not getting in there. Alright, we're going to back this out. I think I like this camera. Man, it's just beautiful. So before you put any of the other stuff on, you want to make sure you put your boot on. And this one has that special kind of clamp that you pinch with a special tool. We'll show you that in a minute. So we'll put that on there. Go till you click. Of course, it's all bunched up. And then you put on your clamp, little hose clamp that holds the outside end. And we'll put that on. And then your nut. You're a nut! No, I said your nut. Possessive. I have no idea where it went. There it is. On the older ones, you can just spin this part, you know, spin the tie rod and hold the nut, and that works good, but not so here. Why is that buggered up here? If we got damaged in shipping, we didn't have any protective sleeve on this. It's unfortunate. Wasn't too bad. I was able to work through it manually. Manos. Alright, languages are so funny. What's funny to me is that there's so many different ones. This makes the mind babble. You have to have some towering intellect to be able to decipher all these different languages. Think of about 1,200 beautiful captions that would describe that well, but we won't get into that now. Alright, so we'll pull this till we see the other wheel start to straighten out. Have this straight. We'll get a rough idea of where to have this be as we put this together. We'll straighten the steering wheel now that I know I'm in the neighborhood of it. Straight wheels. Alright, steering wheel straight. This is straight. Go ahead and put this in. Turn that out, maybe a turn or two. Maybe a little more. Alright. Get our safety nut. That's nuts. Let's put that on. Here we go. Now if you under tighten these, it's bad because you'll break it. If you under tighten it, that's bad because it can. What I do is I watch with this particular type until I get the little burrs and things that once they settle in and it stops, you're done. If you keep going, you'll damage it. If you don't go that far, it'll come loose. Alright, so everything's in place. I'm going to leave this off because I got to line it, but I got to put the wheel back on to do that. So, for all intents and purposes, we're about done. I'm going to get some special pliers for that clamp. Man, I put this poor camera into places cameras just shouldn't be. So here we have our boot. We're about ready to get this thing pulled back on. The way I got this clamp to be undone is I took a screwdriver and I just put it in there at the pinch point and just turn it back and forth, pry up and down all over the place so that I can get the thing off. So we go to put it back on. It's about the same thing. You take those pliers that I showed you. It's It's a really slick system. Kudos to whoever invented this. And you got to push up a lot because of the distortion that I put to it to get it off. But you just pinch it, and you'll notice that this part pushes up as these push together. Let's give it one last squeeze. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So this won't turn. You can slide it a little bit, but it's pretty tight. Maybe we'll give it just a little bit more. There we go. Now that is good and tight. Guten Tag. Good day, good tightness. So this is the inner tie rod we just put on. This is the nut that was stubborn, and this is the outer tie rod. And everything's all secured and done. So what we need to do is we've centered the steering wheel. We've looked at the wheel on the other side to see how much reveal we need. I really do not care for the pliers type ones. I like wrench ones a lot better, but I like the Moog brand well enough that I tolerate it. And so as we turn this, it unscrews in relation to the outer tie rod. So I've got my head peeking out the other way. I turn it one way, see what it looks like, turn it the other way, see what it looks like. Basically it needs to unscrew from that to push it out, to push this outer part of the wheel out to line the same as the other one. We're trying to get the toe to match on both. We're trying to get the reveal to match so that our toe is set correctly, so that we're toe out, because it's a front wheel drive vehicle, but not too much. Yeah, this is a real pain in the butt. Thanks a lot, Moog. With a wrench you can actually angle a little bit. With this you have to be exactly perpendicular on the son of a gun. Not a fan. Maybe there's a special tool for it or something. I don't know, pliers belong in a certain part of the toolbox where you just don't use it that much for stuff like this. You shouldn't have to. I like everything to key up and be clean and not strip. Pliers, stripping is the name of the game. I don't know, they're like hammers. You use them sparingly. When you need them, but you shouldn't use them unless you absolutely have to, especially on anything hexagonal. Alright, so we've got everything matching up, so we're going to put this back into place. If you want to be real picky, go get an alignment. You know, get it on a rack, but this will at least get you there without burning up your tires, and 9 times out of 10 I get them more accurate than they do on the machine, because the guy doesn't know how to set up the machine usually. You know, that Hunter guy goes around and he trains everybody, and dude's a freaking genius, you know, and he teaches people real well, but at the end of the day, when you do this last nut, you'll find on the outer tie rod that it has a slot where you can get onto it down this. Oh, good son of a gun. There's no way to get a camera in there. Okay, so you can see there's a slot right here. Hold this and make sure this is in the middle position. I learned that on the machine when I was doing alignments, is that if you have this centered the way it's going to ride, it'll cause your alignment to stay good, and that way you don't get any issues with it changing on you. Grab it here with a wrench and then tighten this with a wrench. At least we don't have to use pliers here. So tighten those up, and then you'll find on the rear block pattern we're about right here. I thought it was here, and then I realized the steering wheel is off, so I need to have it to be about right there. So when I eclipse here, it's on the middle of the tread block. Now my eyes can focus near and far and do awesome that way. Yours can't, and there's a little black something over there anyway, so you can't see. What is that? It's a plate. But anyway, I've got the same reveal over here, the steering wheel straight, and we go to the other side of the car. Man, this new little tripod gives me some cool angle access, but it's taking some getting used to. So I've got the same reveal both sides. I know this isn't focusing, so you can't really tell, but you'll just have to take my word for it. About half that outside block pattern. So I lined it up about this much reveal on that back tire. I think you get what I'm talking about. But anyway, so that's how you do an inner tie rod, and that's what they're all about. I hope this video is helpful to you, and hopefully I do a good edit on it and it isn't so full of dead space and me saying because I'm tired, but there you go. Thanks for watching. Whoa, that is a nice car. As I'm up late Saturday night before I post this on Sunday, I wonder to myself, does anybody watch to the end of these long 20-minute videos, or do people pretty much just watch the useful part and call it good? Leave me a comment and let me know. I'd be curious to find out. Because it occurs to me at a lot of my favorite movies, when the movie's over and they roll the credits, at the end of the credits there's something else. I don't know. Something funny. Something cool. And you just have to wonder, is it over? I don't know. Maybe there's something else. I'll just keep sitting here. I guess eventually I'll find out.